Morning guys, welcome to Hollywood Hills. We're going to be reporting this week on the GXCC round number 4 from Bapsfontein. Now I said coming up to this round, the late season rains are a thing of the past, and I was right. And I wish I hadn't been right as well, because this was the dustiest race on the tour so far, meaning that it was whole shot city or you were going to be eating it. And as I go through the list, there's a couple of key riders who missed the gate, didn't get the whole shot, and therefore missed a win. Here we go. We're going to get into the categories. This week's show, we focus in on the senior motorcycle gate. We'll start things out with our ladies. Now, coming back from mechanical problems, Janke Pieterse was back on the gate and she went straight for it. But she had Onnika and Karika for company. So the Pieterse sisters on the Black Iron Racing squad were going to be an absolute thriller to watch out for. Unfortunately, in the early laps, a big crash coming in from Karika on the KTM sent her out the back door. Concussion and a big bruise on her face. She's going to have a shiner for the early part of winter, and it's going to be a couple of question marks when she goes out. But I'll tell you what, she's a fighter. She will come back. So that put Janke back at the top of the pile, and Onnika ran some rock solid numbers. So Onnika on the championship at the moment is virtual points leader because she's got a ton of good finishes there, but we haven't counted the throwaways. But it's not all about the Pieterse sisters. Catherine Mostert is starting to show really good form as well, and she gets her points on the plate. Third place here at round number 4, just before the big mid-season gap to get us ready for the second half of the season, sets her up well. But it's the return of Janke and Onnika running good numbers and a good bounce. Bit of a concussion, but Karika will be back for this one. The high school 125ers has been about one man since pretty much 2 rounds before the finish of the 2018 tour. That's Davin Cocker. He was a privateer. He got picked up by the big MCA Holshot Husqvarna squad, and he has been smashing them. He's taken 2 wins on the bounce for the National Championship, and he has taken 3 wins on the bounce for the GXCCs. So round number 4 was going to be a question mark if he could have the perfect start to the first half of the season. I'll answer that question quickly. He couldn't. This time around, it was new blood starting to climb the ladder and come forward. Not new blood, but an old name. Mr. 125, Ryan Peltzer, keeps his title hopes alive. He gets his first big win of the GXCC Tour, and that's going to really help him out as far as his championship goes. He brought up former high school national champion Nardis Robbie along for the ride. Davin Cocker this time around had to take a 3rd seat. So that will change up the championship, but still puts Cocker in a virtual lead. 3 wins and a 3rd. He's still good at the top of the pile. In the OR3 category, the 200cc or 250, most of the time on the 4 strokes, big story this year with a lot of moving and changing. Couple of riders moving up into the OR2s, couple of riders staying down into the 125s. It was Stefan van Deventer, who on paper and on point looks like the man to beat. He threw away, I think it was round number 2 when he went in for his knee surgery. Since then, he has been absolutely smashing and banging. He takes another win at round number 4. This time around, the super consistent Karim and Mary join him on the podium. Now, these guys are absolutely chargers at the moment, bringing home some big numbers. Mary was real strong in his junior days, and it's taken him a long time to kind of figure out whether he was going to sit in high schools or the OR2s. He's got his seat, a number 2 finish at round number 4, beating out on Peter Karim, and Karim on paper as well is definitely a big threat for either a 2nd or 3rd, as long as he keeps his blade sharp for the rest of the season. That was the OR3s. OR2s, for me, one of the most exciting gates on the tour. Whole shot kid, JJ Daisel, always so strong. He pulled the pin once again. But when you've got Rawler, you've got McLeod moved up, Fent is in good shape this year as well, and Lowe Schmidt moves down from the 450s into the 350s, it's going to be a tough one to beat out. Early running, JJ, Lowe, and Rawler on his wheel. And that's pretty much how it worked out in the early running. But at the finish, it was Lowe Schmidt who bangs his first big win, and it's a long time since we saw the farm kid back on top. He gets the win going, and he got a good number as well. JJ Daisel takes a number 2 finish, so that keeps his championship hopes alive. And Rawler, the man who has X-ray vision in the dust and an event that looked like it was set up for him to go and do the numbers again. Unfortunately, too much dust, too many problems, and not the gate that he wanted. He has to take a 3rd place. But in the championship, there is nothing to decide between Lowe, JJ, and the Brawler at this stage of the game. The OR1 gate, the big bangers then. The big story here, no Kenny turning up. Previous round winner, that was the Dart. Dart did not get the gate that he wanted, and he got punished severely for it. First time in a long time that he was off the top 3. 4th place finish for him. Out of the gate, it was Hein van Niekerk Jr. He did an incredible job to fire his whole shot Husqvarna out into the lead, but it wasn't to be. He had issues in the race, eventually dropping outside of the podium placings, outside of a top 6. And that's going to crush him as far as the championship hopes go at the halfway knuckle. So who was left remaining inside of the top 3? One of our breakout superstars from last year, and that is JC Nienaber. He hit the front one more time, and listen to this. This is a very different looking podium. Second place went to Charon Moore. He has been in position to walk away with trophies and podium places on, I think, 2 times already this season. He had to step out with injuries, and it's taken him a long time to come back for form. But now he is back in it. He turned up at the previous GXCC, did 1 lap, said his internals still weren't feeling there, didn't want to push his body to the maximum. Sat it out, went and focused on his roof duties for 2019. He got rid of the bronze qualifier, refocused himself into his own training, and he came out swinging. Number 2 is going to help him out. It's also going to change up the championship because we've got a couple of different players coming in and robbing points from the guys that have been 1, 2, and 3 so far this season. Third place this time around, Ruan Potgieter gets his highest finish of the 2019 season. He's been top 5ing it the whole way through, I think the last 2 or 3 seasons, but he has to have that perfect setup. He was really good off the gate, didn't get the whole shot, but he did slot in nicely behind Hein van Niekerk Jr. in the early stages, and that set him up well. So JC gets the win. We've got Charon Moore in the number 2 spot, and Ruan Potgieter in 3rd place. That knocked Dart down to 4th, and Dart is going to hope that that's the lowest he'll finish on the tour, and that will hopefully be his throwaway. For the senior categories, the age group categories, another whole shot for big Bruce Viljoen on the Honda, but again, not to be. Seems like every time Bruce is getting a whole shot, a pass comes in relatively early on, and that's Wade Blau. So Blau, once again on the Roos KTM, takes an undefeated run. He has gone 4 for 4 on the tour so far, and Bruce is in a number 2. So Bruce is there, ready and waiting, but it is going to come down to who can get the final win streak going. If Bruce wins the next 4, then we go into a tiebreaker, and it will come down to who has got the lowest finishes rather than who has got the most wins. So watch out for that battle. It's going to be a nail-biter. Also, a welcome to 3rd place and consistent form to Ludwig Janse van Vuuren. 3rd place once again on the Trax KTM. But it is a 2-horse race out front between Bruce and Wade. And then in the Masters, Peter Hall, Van van Deventer, and Wayne. Insane Wayne Farmer. Now let's talk about Wayne for a second here. He is the guy that is out there fully committed. He's old school. He likes to stay with his 300 smoker. He's got the latest version of the smoker, by the way, and he keeps that thing singing. But this time around, Ian Pepper, now out of the GXCCs and Nationals with 2 spaghetti wrists, hands him his factory 350. So for the first time in a long time, and I mean a very long time, if ever, Wayne steps onto a 4-stroke 350. He had good numbers as well. He was leading for a short while, but unfortunately had to take a step down. He had some issues in the race. It wasn't the perfect situation for him, but he stays on point and he stays with his number 2 finish. So it was Hall this time around in the dust, and we always expected it. He is really strong in the dust, got a good gait, and he runs the numbers out front. So once again, 1 and 2 for Hall, this time beating out on Farmer, and Van van Deventer in 3rd place. Right there, the Masters Championship is far from decided. And a quick catch up with our friends over at Black Iron Racing to see what went down for their 4th event on the tour. We've already talked about the girls, with unfortunately Karika going down and smashing herself up, but this is what went down for the rest of the lineup. For the juniors, little DeAndre, unfortunately not able to make it onto the box this time, just missed out by 2 positions, 8th place for him in the 50cc's. For Chandre Vermaak, also having those bike problems has really caused him issues, a 13th place in our junior 85s. For Nicole Duplessis, she's banging a ton of top 10 finishes at the moment. She walks away with a 9th in the senior 85s. And then Vian Duplessis gets one of his best starts of the season, walks away with a podium, 6th place in the GXCC stacked gate for the seniors. So that wraps up all of our senior motorcycle categories. Next week, we will focus in from the GXCC in the Dust Bowl that was Bapsfontein, round number 4 of the GXCCs. We'll focus in on the quads and our junior competitors. So what else is coming up? Well, we've got a couple of big bangers. Last week, we reviewed Farm Jam and 424, and this is what you guys have got to look forward to. Farm Jam is going to be fun for us as well. The way that they graded and kind of opened up the track from the first round, which was way back at the beginning of March, we got really solid feedback. So there's been a big gap before we go forward into, just to find a gap in the calendar, to be honest, into round number 2. But we're expecting to see some good numbers. And we get into June, and we get into the third round of the 424 Cross Country Championship Racing Series. Quite a fun one this time around, and you'll see on the calendar that also marks the third round, which is the halfway knuckle for their championship. We've seen some good development. The first round was a little bit rocky, a little bit open grass. The second round, much more fun and much better feedback and good numbers on the page. The third round goes back to a classic race venue where it all began, and it was the host venue for the Ride for Damien events, Verena and the Herzog Farm. So this is going to be a real good flow. It's got a nice mixture of flatlands, wetlands, grasslands, a little bit of twin spur road, a little bit of copies, and it really should be pretty much something for everyone out there. I've got some of the old pictures from the previous events, so you'll get a look and a feel of what it looks like and what it feels like, but we are expecting to see a real good flow. As far as everything that's going to be up there for you guys, in the pits, there's going to be VIP toilets, there's going to be catering, full timing from race time, as well as full medical. So if you guys are worried that you're not going to get everything because it's just one of these farm races, don't worry. Everything is taken care of, and they are turning into real spectacular events. So what happens now as we move out of the racing month of May into June? Well, the first racing weekend of June, on the 1st of June, it's the next round of the National Championship. So the national guys who have been doing a lap of the country already, they opened up their account in KZN. Then we went down to the Koa Bokkeveld, which also really challenged the riders and put Kenny on top of championship standings. Now we move up into Gauteng. This is going to be a classic race venue, a venue that hasn't been raced for the motorcycles in well over 10 years, Carnival City. Now the breakdown of this race is going to be the fact that it will have been used for an inland regional off-road championship race for the cars the week before. We use the same infrastructure and the same loop for the bikes to go racing. So it will have been broken up, but more importantly, it will have been opened up, and it should be easily marked as well for the guys. So watch out for that one. That is going to be an absolute nail biter. That will mark the halfway marker and round 3 for the National Championship Tour. Hope you guys enjoyed the review of GXCC round number 4 at Bapsfontein for our motorcycle senior categories. Remember, next week we focus in on our quaddies as well as our junior riders.